Kashaya, and today I wanted to come and talk to y'all about Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, and just some things that dropped in my spirit as I was riding and just talking to myself, and myself was like, but in this dialogue I was having with myself, I was in my head joking about how I always talk about, hey, good people, blah, 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 blah. And I always say, hey, good people and others. But as I was doing that in my head, Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory just popped up, right? And so, y'all know, if you ain't seen the movie, I have to ruin it to tell you what I'm about to tell you. So, excuse me. Or go ahead and leave. I don't know. But, anywho, it's funny because in the Bible, God talks about how he's going to separate us, right? So the lambs will be on the right and the goats will be on the left. So the lambs are his children, right? Or his flock. And then the goats are the bad or wicked people. And so it's interesting because I always say hello, good people, or and others. But a lot of people talk about it's not about division, but when God comes, he is coming to divide. Like, he is coming to divide us, right? And he's going to divide us based off of who's been quote unquote good and who's been quote unquote evil. But when we look at Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, right? The characters in the movie, the main characters in the movie, all of them end up winning this golden ticket, right? And the golden ticket allows them access to meet Willy Wonka. And so Willy Wonka is this great inventor, and he has invented all of these things. He's a little wonky, right? A little different, a little extra or outside of the box, right? With the things that he creates. But he's very famous, celebrity, all of this, etc. and etc. And so the kids win this golden ticket to go see Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. And in doing so, they're able to take like a family member or something along with them. I'm trying to find a good lighting space, y'all. But it ain't. It might not. It might not be that. All right, anyways. So in doing so, they win this ticket to go see Willy Wonka's Chocolate Factory. So as the movie progresses, all of the kids have this just one thing that they just really, really, really want to see or experience in his chocolate factory. And it's interesting because similar to Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, we are here placed on earth and we are tempted by all of these desires or things that we want in the world. And, God and the devil will put all of these things in front of us to see how we respond when we have the thing that we so desperately desire, right? And it's interesting because in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, one of the things that always stuck out in my mind was, gosh, what's her name? It was the purple girl. She was a brat, and she just always got what she wanted, right? She was already wealthy before she got to the chocolate factory, but her personality, right, was just really, really ugly. She had everything that she could ever imagine because her parents were wealthy and they were affluent, but her heart and her spirit was just real janky, was real jacked up. And so what happens is she ends up becoming like this big blueberry. I think her name was Violet or something like that. And the machine ends up swallowing her. And it's funny because the machine ends up swallowing her because she was a bad fruit. She was bad fruit. And much like Violet in the movie, right, Willy Wonka in the Chocolate Factory, God is going to inspect our fruit. And most of us feel like it's the things that we do or the deeds, which is what we do. We feel like that is what God is going to ultimately be looking at, when ultimately the true factor is our heart. And so the main character, Charlie, is the one who ends up making it to the end. And I told y'all I was going to butcher the movie. So it's an old classic movie. Hopefully you've already seen it. If not, I do. I apologize. But um, Charlie is the one who wins like the ultimate prize or gift or whatever that Willy Wonka had. But it was because of Charlie's heart and his nature. Now, Charlie came from a background where he was poor. His family had very little, but his heart and his humility, right, was what stood out in comparison to all of the other kids or characters in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And I thought this was just really great, and I wanted to share it with you all because oftentimes we watch movies, or I watch movies. I don't know about y'all, but when I watch movies, I can always see sometimes the uh movies typically have this thing of good and evil in most of the movies, right? But it's interesting when we really sit and reflect on some of the movies that we've either grown up watching or that are out now, right? Because Atlas was a really, really great movie. I don't know if y'all saw that movie. I shouted out J Lo, and I believe the black actor, his name is Sterling. If I'm saying your name wrong, sir, I do apologize. But I believe his name is Sterling. But that movie was a great movie. The movie was really, really, really good. And so in the movie also it kind of highlights like our relationship or our connection with God, right? The interconnectedness. And I did a blog on my website that is posted today for you to check out if you would like to read about interconnectedness, where I highlight the interconnectedness between John, Elijah, and Jesus. And so, much like in the movies that we watch, we are able to get a glimpse of just sometimes the nature of God, depending on who the writer is, right? Because some writers are just wicked, something wrong with them. Y'all seen that show, The Walking Dead? That writer, something wrong with her, right? And she also wrote in this other show that I was watching. It started off good, but then when she got a hold of writing, it just became a little wonky. So it depends on who the writer is, but some writers incorporate different aspects or just different views of how God is ultimately in our life. And it was just so interesting for me to be having this self dialogue, and God is just highlighting to me how much like Willy Wonka, God will put us here on this earth, and he will put in front of us all of the things that we desire or that we want in life, to see how we're going to respond or act when we get them. And the crazy thing is, regardless of what's given to us, right, it's still whether or not we are found to have good fruit. And good fruit deals with our character, right? Our heart, how we treat people. Um, it deals a lot with character. And we see that in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. And so I pray you caught what I just shared. And if you didn't, I do apologize that you missed it. But God is checking our fruit. And whether we get on the scale or we're inspected and we see that we have been good or bad, we all have a destination that we're going to end up, right? Much like Violet, she ended up in the batch of bad fruit because of her heart, her character, and Charlie ended up winning the grand prize with Willy Wonka. But it was because of his heart. So we have two characters in Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. One came from nothing, but in his heart he had everything. And the other came from everything, but in her heart she had nothing. And unfortunately, we see that a lot today in the world, where so many people have everything, but in their heart they have nothing. They are lacking the the proper character or heart when it comes to how they treat people, how they show up for others. And God sees it, right? It doesn't go unnoticed by God. And I now have a new respect for Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory because I never really viewed it at that depth. I always got the message, a little bit of Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory, because there's always multiple messages you can pull from a movie. But God is going to do an inspection of us. And whether we end up being good people or bad people, we end up on the left for being bad and on the right for being good. There's going to be an inspection. And so the best thing that we can do as believers or children of God is to make sure that we're daily inspecting ourselves. We're daily inspecting and checking our hearts, because that's what God is going to check. And so I'm grateful that God was able to share that with me, and happy to be able to share it with you all as well, because we all, including myself, need to be mindful to check our hearts daily, right? How we treat people, how we show up, how we respond to others. I know with me being cyber stalked at the capacity and magnitude that I am, some days it does weigh on me as far as um, how people choose to sometimes just pop up in my life thinking that they know me and they know nothing. And it's irritating sometimes, right? But we do have to respond to things accordingly depending on what's going on. So I thought that was pretty cool, right? Willy Wonka and the Chocolate Factory. Good message, good meat. But yeah, hopefully you end up on the right side and not the left. So that's my little random chit chat for today. But love you later. Have a great day.